Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for the August Fragrance Awards. This is my opportunity to share with you many of the fragrances that I wore over the past month, put them into absolutely made up award categories just for our entertainment and so that I can share with you what the experience was like. I've been doing this series for a number of years now, so I'll put a playlist down in the description box where you can binge watch these monthly awards if you're interested. I will also have all of the fragrances linked down below, as well as places where you might be able to get decants of most of these if you'd like to sample them and see what they are like for you. Before we get started, I'd love to hear from you. What is your favorite fragrance from the month of August? What did you enjoy wearing the most this past month and you couldn't stop reaching for, or that captured your attention, your heart, or something else that made it stand out to you? So let's get started. It's going to be a long video. Just a heads up, I got a lot to share with you for this month. It's been a good month overall. I'm going to start off with the best for the season. August here in Central Virginia is usually one of the hottest, muggiest, most humid months of the year. Sometimes that continues into early September. So we'll see how that plays out as we head into the fall months. So I like to think of a fragrance that makes me feel fresh and clean as the winner for the month for this category. This fragrance that I'm going to share with you doesn't get the love that it deserves in the category of being clean, fresh, soapy. This is BORELLI from Tiziana Terenzi. This fragrance retails for something close to about $500, but you can usually find it on sale in the low 200s and sometimes less than that in the hundreds on discount sites. I'll try to get you a good link below if you're interested. This is one of the most creamy, soapy, clean, very soft, round aldehyde and floral fragrances that I've had the opportunity to try. To me, it's among the top aldehyde, clean smelling, fresh out of the shower, creamy scents in my collection, at least, and that I've sampled. I would say it's in the same family as 724 from Maison Francis Kurkdjian, if you've had the opportunity to try that or the like. If you have tried the new Nude from Myth, it's in that same category where it smells like you have applied a fresh cream, like fresh Nivea cream or something of the like. Maybe you also showered with Dove soap. You know how Dove has, it's both clean smelling, but it has this sort of creamy, maybe even milky undertone to it. And it has some florals in it, both yellow and white florals that I think sort of balance each other out nicely. There's a soft, woody muskiness in the base of this fragrance. The key for this one is not to overspray because it is a pretty projecting fragrance. When I first wore it a couple of years ago when I got it, I thought it was rather on the soft side. It actually has nice presence in the room, so you don't need to spray a whole lot of this fragrance, and you will smell freshly put together and clean, that fresh out of the shower. Like I said, just applied your lotion over your Dove body soap, and you've got a little bit of a floral hint to you as well. It's soft, it's fairly unisex, although there are aspects of it that lean feminine to me. And I think it just can't be beat as a classic scent to wear in high heat or really all year round. But since we're talking about the muggy, crazy high heat of August here, I'm going with Borelli as my choice. Really an underrated gem in the clean, chic, sophisticated, fresh out of the shower smell category. In the best for everyday category, this one could have been best for the season as well because it shares a lot of characteristics with Borelli in being in that clean, fresh category. This is Ocean de Joya by Armani. Now, we've talked about that there are rumors of this being discontinued. I still see it on a number of websites. Like I'm looking on the Ulta website there now, and they've got the 1 ounce and the 1.7 ounce of this still for sale. The 3.4 ounce is no longer available. And so I'm seeing that kind of trend on other sites where there'll be certain sizes that are sold out. I don't know if that means that the stock of these are being sold out and this is being phased out, or if I'm just imagining that it's being discontinued. I'm not quite sure. If you like what I'm about to describe, I would strongly suggest grabbing a bottle of this before it potentially disappears. The primary notes here are what are called a sparkling pear. I'll talk about that in a second. Water jasmine, which I think is supposed to mean that this fragrance has a sort of like aquatic feel to it. And it's lighter in that sense than Borelli that I described as being creamier and having like a woody, musky base that gives it a little bit of foundation. This one is sort of more airy and clean and watery as well. And then there's sandalwood and musk in the base. So going back to that concept of sparkling pear, This definitely feels like it's slightly fizzy. So if you think about a glass of champagne or even like a glass of soda when you first pour it, and as the bubbles start to dissipate, it has this little fuzzy, like a fuzzy or fizzy rather, fizzy nature to it. Think about that as like the sparkling aspect of this, not literally, but kind of like the feeling that you get in your nose as you're smelling that. This definitely has an aquatic vibe that to me matches a little bit of the color of this. At first, I thought I was, like, confused about, like, why is this called Ocean de Joya? I don't get any ocean vibes, and I still don't get any ocean vibes, but I definitely understand the sort of aquatic vibe to this fragrance. What stands out to me most is this very soft, like a watered down fizzy pear deal and a very soft floral. It says jasmine. Would I be able to pick out that I'm smelling jasmine? Not necessarily, but I can definitely detect a sort of soft white floral, and then I enjoy the sort of creamy, slightly creamy sandalwood musky base. It's lighter here than what we talked about with BORELLI, for example. My only complaint about this fragrance is that it isn't the longest lasting. So you have to know that when you wear this, that you're probably going to need to reapply midday. But it's such a fresh smell. It also gives you this kind of like shampooy vibe. So think about a shampoo that has a pear note in it and a little bit of floral, and then you get this sort of aquatic background with a very slightly woody base to it. And it's really quite delightful. I think this is a gem of a fragrance, and it doesn't get talked about the way that it should. And if it gets discontinued, we'll hear even less about it. In the special occasion category is a gritty fragrance that I think is rather underrated. I've gone down the gritty rabbit hole. I have a bunch of them. I have a video posted about my thoughts about many of the gritty house fragrances, at least those that are more popular among the ladies, if you'd like to check that out. Actually, before I talk about the fragrance, if you're ever wondering what one of your favorite perfume review content creators thinks about a specific perfume, you can just type their name and the name of the fragrance into the YouTube search bar, and their video, if they have one, should come up. Or if you'd like to know what so and so recommends in terms of a certain kind of category or a certain note, you can always like look it up and see. I only mention that because people sometimes will ask, do you have a video or could you do a video on this kind of thing? And oftentimes it's done. Like I've done, like can you do roses? And I've done a rose video. And so you can look it up in the search bar. Anyway, if you're interested in the gritty fragrance review, just look up Veronica Says Gritty House Review. So this one is called Because I'm Free. Did I mention the category? Special occasion. And I'd like to feature this as one that doesn't get a lot of hype from the house, but really should. The color of the bottle gives you a sense of sort of its allure. This could have been in the next category, the sexiest fragrance as well. There were two that kind of fought for the other spots. So for me, some of the main notes that come out here, it has a candied fruit accord. So we don't know what notes comprise the candied fruit accord, but it's a pretty big, bold tuberose with some almond undertone. So if you think about marzipan and what marzipan paste, like almond paste smells like, imagine that with a pretty big, bold tuberose, not quite as bold as some of the big powerhouse tuberoses, but heading in that direction. This one certainly holds its own. And I love that it has this banana note. I think it's a banana blossom note. And so, in that sense, it smells a little bit tropical as well. The base of the fragrance has vanilla, amber, and caramel. Those are the three notes. I don't detect caramel, but I definitely get this warm, deeper, vanillic, ambery base to this. On top of that is that really bold tuberose, sort of running through the tuberose, if you will, is that sort of almond, like a sweet almond note. And I'm picking up the almond more and more, even though it says almond blossom, the flower of the almond. Uh, I pick up more almond as I wear this more. And then there's that sort of tropical candied fruit nature as well. There are other notes, but that is what stands out to me. Pretty powerful projecting fragrance. This one will take you through the entire day. I find it to be fairly grown up. So if you're someone that tends to think that certain kinds of florals are on the more mature side, you probably won't enjoy this. If you like a big, bold floral with a lot of personality that isn't quite in the cloying direction of like your 80s and 90s, for example, big powerhouse florals, maybe like a couple of steps below that, a little bit more modern, this one may be of interest to you because I'm free, long lasting, projecting. Husband loves this on me. Very pretty fragrance, very warm and sensual fragrance as well. In the category of sexiest fragrance, this is also a little bit of a hidden gem in that only a few channels have talked about this. I'm so glad that I tried this and I told you all I was going to purchase a bottle and I meant it. This is from Octavia Morgan. It is called Dark Rose. Oh my goodness. Maybe one of the sexiest releases of the recent when was this released? Was it this year? I think it was because I had it listed in like my favorite releases of the year. If you remember, I did a video about those maybe like mid-year, it was end of June, early July, and this one won out over the other rose releases of the year. Although I have to say, Empatia from BDK is coming in hot right behind this one for that best rose of the year slot. But let's talk about this fragrance here because it definitely caught my attention and left me with my tongue wagging. So the description, unleash your inner allure with this daringly seductive fragrance, a masterclass in sophistication and sensuality. The notes that stand out to me here, there's a little bit of a peppery nuance to it. Plum, even though it says dark rose. So rose is the star player, but it's got a wingman. And the wingman is this beautiful plum note. If you have smelled plum in perfumes, it's like a very sort of dark, juicy note. And other notes here, vanilla, patchouli in the base that stand out for me. Not heavy on the patchouli, maybe heavier on the vanilla. This is dark and seductive. Did I mention rose? There's rose in the fragrance, obviously, and it says black rose, whatever that is supposed to smell like. But this is like, I call it like a sexy, gothic smelling rose. It is gorgeous. I will say, and I don't know what in the structure is giving it this, it has a slight bit of powderiness to it that I think gives the fragrance even more feminine edge, more allure, more mystery. Beautiful fragrance, very strong, very long lasting. Immediately upon spraying and all through the day, I was getting compliments from the husband, sniffing on me, talking about how alluring this is. He thought it was very sexy. And so he was confirming what I thought about this. It also occurred to me while I was wearing this that it reminded me of something that I have worn in the past. And so what came to mind for me is Marc Jacobs Decadence, the one that looks like a purse. That bottle discontinued with the sort of reptilian looking top and the handle that has the metal chain with the tassel. It is in that family. Imagine if that fragrance had a very amped up, gothy kind of rose in it, like a dark, sexy rose, because that fragrance, if I remember, also has a beautiful plum note, a powderiness, a sort of patchouli woody base, like this one does. This is absolutely gorgeous. Some would argue that this is sort of an evening and perhaps a winter scent. Certainly, I wore it during the day as I was working from home. I would not wear this to the office. It is too much for the office. I mean, you might get some looks if you wear something like this to the office and some people getting choked out because it's a pretty strong fragrance, but it is gorgeous. Dark rose, aptly named, and I'm very curious to try others from the Octavia Morgan line now. I think this is available exclusively at Ulta, so I'll have that link below as well. Gorgeous. Get yourself a decant of this at the very least if you are a rose lover and you like a bold rose fragrance. Gorgeous. In the category of biggest surprise is one for which a bottle is on the way, and I can't wait for it to arrive. And it's the biggest surprise because I sampled it. I thought it was okay, put the sample aside, and I always come back to my samples. Like if they have any merit to them at all, even if I think they were bland or meh, I put them into like a little jar. In fact, let me show you the jar. This is the jar that I work from. Isn't this cute? This is an old candle where I cleared out the wax and I put in here samples that I would like to try out for my video or retry. So I put it back in the jar thinking I'll come back to this and give it another shot and see what I think. But I had kind of written it off. I tried it again and absolutely fell in love with it. And so that's the surprise that I kind of cast it aside like, oh, this is all right. And then fell in love with it on the second try and ended up ordering it. It is called BEIRUT Baklava. The description here, one that leads you straight into a bustling patisserie in the heart of Old Beirut, where the aromas of crushed pistachios, buttery pastries, and sugared syrup fill the air like a memory between aged wooden walls and its lively patrons. It's a modern gourmand with a vintage spirit, a love letter to Beirut and the sweets that glaze its history. I think that is right on. The baklava accord is toasted nutty syrup and buttery facets marry together the senses of taste and smell. So I was picking up in this a very soft vanilla base, perhaps some other notes, perhaps there's some woodiness. It says that there's leather. I don't remember smelling leather in the sample that I tried. I do remember this baklava accord. I mean, does it smell like a literal piece of baklava? No, there's sort of like an artistic interpretation of that, and I think that's what I love the most about it, that this fragrance felt soft, like a soft, gentle gourmand, not super literal where it feels completely edible, but it's like teetering just on the edge, like on the precipice, if you will, of being way too far into gourmand territory, but not quite, and wearable for many settings. I found this to be sort of a softer, a kinder, gentler, more polite gourmand wear than some of the gourmands that are out on the market at the moment. So I really fell in love with this. It was a combination of like a creamy base with sort of some airiness on top. And I did get wafts of something coming out of a bake shop. And it was kind of delicious, but in like the most office appropriate way. So it's on the way. I think the bottle is nicely colored. Like the color of it, I think is pretty as well. Could also be in the hidden gem category because I don't hear anyone talking about this one. In the category of favorite blind buy, I have really been exploring the house of Morph and enjoying many of the ones that I have tried, despite me criticizing the bottles and not being sort of a fan of the way the bottles look. I have to admit that the scents themselves are capturing my heart. And so it's been great exploring the house and finding these gems. And so this one is called Number Eight. And if you are a purple floral lover, rejoice. This is absolutely gorgeous. It's this beautiful combination of the three sort of primary purple florals in my mind: iris, violet, and lilac. Gorgeous. It reminds me somewhat, if you have had the opportunity to try Breathe Me, that I raved about earlier in the summer with the wisteria note, if I remember. If you know what wisteria smells like, imagine like a wisteria note, except more cool and in the purpley direction. This is gorgeous. And it also reminds me of my experience smelling Madurai from Memo Paris, which I fell in love with the opening of that. This one kind of captures that same cool, sophisticated, classy feeling. There's rose in the fragrance and there's a vanilla musk base. Do not think that this is heavy on the vanilla. For me, it is more of a simplistic musky base, maybe with a touch of vanilla in it to soften it up. There's also a very light hint of powderiness in the fragrance, as you might get from purple florals, like a purple floral dominant fragrance. So think cool, sophisticated class in a bottle. This could have potentially been in one of the categories that's coming up, which is Hollywood Glam, because it reminds me of that as well. Gorgeous fragrance. It has this like, if here you go. If you like Parma violets, like the candies, it doesn't have a specific like sweetness to it, but it has that same kind of candy smell as you put a Parma violet in your mouth, the kind of scent that comes to your nose as you taste it, it's that type of deal, along with a little bit of muskiness in the base, a hint of vanilla. It's light, it's fluffy. It is quite like exquisite, particularly on the opening and for the first maybe hour and a half to 2 hours of wear is the most impressive period of the fragrance. After that, you still get some of the purple florals, you still get that light, airy musk, a hint of powderiness, but the magic of that first 1 hour and a half or so, maybe 2 hours, is really like second to none when it comes to purple florals. So that's number eight from Morph. In the category of not a safe blind buy, but one that I really enjoy because it has a special association, like a memory association for me, it's from BDK and it's 312 Saint Honoré. And so I've said before that this reminds me of walking into the art building when I was in high school. This building had tall, soaring glass and it was made of concrete. And it was a newer building, so you could still smell like the dustiness of the concrete after it dries off. So think about like wet cement drying. I know this sounds wild. The smell that wet cement gives off. And then after it dries, it has this like almost like a dusty wet cement smell. Can those two things go together? But it happens in here. And here's what I love most about that. I thought that about this fragrance before I even knew that it was inspired by the building that is at this address for BDK, which is made up of mostly glass, concrete, and white burgundy stone. So the raw materials of that place are what inspired this fragrance. And I love that that's right on with like what the memory that this fragrance evokes. So it's described as a woody, musky floral. The main notes that are called out on the BDK site are pink pepper, white musk, and orange blossom. I get less floral and I get mostly like this, like I said, dry slash wet concrete with the sort of powderiness of the concrete or the dustiness of it rather. The warmth of the air that was inside of that building that I'm talking about, that you have no way of knowing what it smells like because it's in my memory. But it's like when the sun comes through those tall glass windows and heats up the concrete in the building, there was this certain, like, slightly humid, dusty cement smell in the air that reminds me it takes me right back to high school and walking in there into the escape of the art room so that I can spend the next hour or whatever just lost in the creativity of art. It's on the lighter side. This is not a fragrance that screams. It's sort of closer to the skin, like a scent bubble. And it has this very calm sophistication to it that's like a second skin scent. Period. That's kind of what it is. You're not going to get much more out of it. And those people that love it, love it. And those that don't get it, don't get it. So definitely one to sample first because it is a little bit more of a different, bizarre smell. Well, it's actually a little similar to one of the fragrances that I'm going to talk about here at the back of the video. I prefer this one to the one that I'm going to talk about. Anyway, great memory association for me. So this is not a safe blind buy because it is a little bit on the strange side with that sort of cement thing happening. I don't have an overhyped fragrance for this month's awards, but I do have a hidden gem. There's several that could be a hidden gem, right? Because I've talked about that. But I want to feature Michael Malul's Latte and Nectar. We have two from this brand in the video today. Look at this bottle. It kind of gives you a sense of what this smells like. It's not really shown up on camera, but it's darker, like an ombre effect down here. So this is like a caramelly brown, and then it goes into this sort of deeper creamy color up here. What a cute little bottle. I got this on Joma Shop on a whim. I have been eyeballing this for months and finally just added to cart and brought it on home. And wow, what a lovely fragrance this is. The main notes here, so this has a little bit of a coffee note, but the coffee is part of this, like, I'm going to call it a Starbucks Accord. I just made that up. But if you think about the really sugary, creamy, I was gonna say fragrances, but drinks that you get at Starbucks. You know, your macchiatos that have the frappuccinos and things like that, that have like the ribbons of caramel and the whipped cream and all of that. How those smell is how the coffee. It's like the coffee's blended into that kind of smell in here. So I don't pick out coffee individually, but because I know that it's there as a note, I think of like a Starbucks Accord. But here are the other notes that I love in here that stand out to me. A very soft, slightly sweet nectarine. It's a little bit stronger on the opening and then it kind of mellows out into this kind of almost citrusy, peachy smell, more in the peach direction than in the citrus direction. And there's a lovely dulce de leche note here that to me is almost like a base to this. This is creamy, it's musky in the base, and then layered over that is that Starbucks frappuccino, caramel macchiato type of thing happening with that nectarine. And it just works. This is very on the gourmand side. This is more of an edible fragrance. So if you're not into that, you won't enjoy this. But I love that the sort of sweetness of this is cut with that nectarine kind of note that balances this out. And it was nicely projecting and decently lasting for me. And listen, by today's perfume standards, on the more affordable side. I think I got this for right over $100 or so, which for this full bottle in today's market with some of these outrageous prices, like for some of the ones that are coming up, this is probably, in my opinion, a steal. In the category of worth hunting down because it's hard to find this fragrance, I believe that it is discontinued. And so you kind of have to search for it on gray market sites or Mercari or eBay, but it is so pretty. This one has stood the test of time in my collection and like survived declutter after declutter. This is from Nina Ricci and this is Rose Extase. I believe the perfumer on this is Francis Kirkjean. Yes. And the primary notes here for me are berries, rose, vanilla, and then musk. And it is delightful. It's not a complicated fragrance, but it has a lot of presence. It projects well. Another one that is quite long lasting. Another one that got immediate compliments and sniffs on the neck from husband and always does when I wear this. This is very much in the same family as Delina, except it's softer and sweeter, maybe more like the Delina Exclusive without the powderiness if you've tried that, and added notes of berries. I hate to always compare things to that, but since people for the most part understand what those smell like, it's a point of reference. That's all. This is delightful, really quite sweet, feminine, slightly sweet, floral, fruity fragrance, like a classic floral, fruity, beautiful fragrance with a nice soft musk and vanilla to make it even more feminine. The bottle is pretty too. Delightful, worth stocking up on. If you're one that does backup bottles, I mean, I don't because I have so many, but if you like the idea of having your favorites for life, this one is like backup bottle worthy. Maybe that's its own category, right? Backup bottle worthy for sure. In the category of best bottle, I almost put Wonder Woman from House of Sillage in this category, but it feels like cheating because all of their bottles are so gorgeous. So I didn't even include it in the monthly lineup, but I will give a shout out to Cedar Chic from Carolina Herrera from the Confidential line. If you haven't had a chance to hold these bottles and you're near a store that sells any of these, you want to put this in hand. It's very weighty. It just feels good in hand. It's got this particular bottle, like a white interior painted inside of the glass instead of the outside, which is quite neat. It's just a beautiful effect. It's got this fluting, this gold bottom. This sticker here has a like linen effect on it that you can't see on camera. And the bottles are beautiful. In fact, oh my gosh, I just noticed that this is very similar. I don't have it here in the room to the Bear line from Victoria's Secret. I wonder if the same manufacturer makes these for Carolina Herrera and for Victoria's Secret. It is a magnetic cap, which is a nice touch. If you haven't had a chance to try this fragrance, and you may not because it is a Harrods exclusive, is my understanding, quite pricey, over the $300 mark. Wow. And so we'll have to wait for this to show up on discount sites if that price feels exorbitant to you. This is mostly an aldehydic and woody fragrance to me. There's also a little bit of citrus at the top. There is an orange blossom note that is supposed to sort of cut through the aldehydes and the woods. You'll get a little bit of that, but think about fresh, clean laundry more in the soapy direction than in the like dryer sheet direction. The cedar in the fragrance is fairly pronounced, so you do have to enjoy that woody, clean, linear, crisp, structured nature of a cedar note to enjoy this. And that way, I find this completely unisex, although wearable by anyone across the spectrum that's interested in wearing this and smelling clean and fresh. So, just as a point of comparison, if you wanted something creamy, more lotion esque, I would go with like BORELLI. This one has more feminine touches from the yellow and white florals. If you wanted something truly crisp, like the fresh white pressed shirt that this fragrance is supposed to be inspired by, definitely go for Cedar Chic instead. But I just love these bottles. The fragrance is a win, long lasting, very projecting. I have a funny story about that in the video where I talked about it. The thumbnail looks like this. And if I remember, I will link it in the description box so you can have a chuckle about how this affected people in my house. In the category of worst bottle, and I hate to say it because the fragrance is gorgeous, what is happening here with Blanche Bête? And actually, all of the bottles from this brand, I think they all look like this. I'm trying to remember if they have a line of fragrances that don't have these weird tops on them. And so, in a video a while back, I talked about how you can spray the fragrance inside of this cap and actually light it so that you get down to the essence, like the oils, rather than and burn off the alcohol if you wanted sort of a more concentrated version of the fragrance and like to dab it on. So I think that is the purpose of the shape of this bottle, but it reminds me of like a goofy chess piece where the queen's crown is exaggerated. That's what comes to mind when I think about this. I do like the bottom of it, how it has this sort of crisscrossing that looks like, you're walking through like a forest. This looks like vines or something. I think many of you are familiar with what Blanche Bête smells like at this point, so I won't go into great detail. If you're new to the fragrance world or haven't smelled this, it is one of the most lactonic. So think about like milky fragrances. I would even dare to call this a little bit heavier, like creamy in nature, depending on the day that you wear it. Some people pick up coconut in the fragrance, like a coconut cream. Other people pick up a pronounced tuberose. There are some other notes in it, but I would say it's milky, leaning toward the creamy direction in terms of its consistency and texture. It definitely has a milky white floral accord. There is a little bit of a coconut nuance here. And I'm talking about the cream of coconut that you would use for desserts. So, in that sense, it has this almost like sweet quality to it. Now, I will also warn you, some people really hate this fragrance, and they said that it smells like baby spit up on them. Oh my gosh. And so I think that this turns sour on some folks. I don't have that experience. On me, it continues to smell beautiful, very strong, nicely floraled, milky to creamy, as I mentioned. It has this sort of ethereal nature to it. And there's something like fluffy and musky in this fragrance as well, like a cotton ball of musk or something that forms the foundation of this fragrance. But this bottle is, I feel like the bottle betrays the fragrance. I mean, that's okay if you put a different top on this. Let's experiment, shall we? What happens if you put that kind of top? This is from the Borelli bottle. That's a whole different experience visually. Even the Michael Malul top looks a little bit classier, if you will, diminutive. versus the really, like, obnoxious, ostentatious nature of that bottle top. Anyway, I love the fragrance, I think it's beautiful. In the clean, cozy category, which is newly made up based on my 2025 obsession with this world of fragrances, is another Michael Malul, and this one is called 173 Candy. I really enjoy this fragrance. I love the ombre effect on this bottle as well. You see this pinky purpley bottom that transitions into this almost like amber colored top. This is so delightful. This is the perfect feminine white t-shirt and jeans fragrance. It reminds me a little bit of like the Prada Candy family of fragrances, particularly Prada Candy, if I remember correctly. It's got this slight, sweet, delicate nature. Like it smells like the color pink, a little bit like a soft tone of cotton candy in here, musky, little touch of vanilla, if I remember correctly, maybe even a little hint of fruit. It's nondescript in the sense that all of that meshes together to give you this soft skin scent that is slightly sweet and a little bit musky and delightful, a little bit in the direction of clean, reserved skin. If you have tried that fragrance, it smells like that, but even more pink and girly. This is delightful. Not the super longest lasting fragrance, another sort of half day's wear. So you have to re up, spray again, but worth it. And another one that I think in today's, crazy market of wild prices is not that bad at all. In a recently made up category, this is the It Girl category or a fragrance that either I think should be getting all the hype right now or that is being hyped up. And for me, it is Golden Pistachio from Sensatio or Sensatio, not sure how to say the name of the house. This one came in along with fragrances like Printemps Blanc from Maison Mataha and absolutely stole my girly heart this year. This is like everything that I want to smell like all the time if I had to choose a scent category these days. Oh, wow. I mean, I sniff this and like my insides turn to happy mush. I'm like, yes, I just want to hang out in the corner and just sniff my fragrance in private, just leave me alone. Me and my fragrance are having a moment. That sounded a little weird, but you know what I mean? Like, I just really love it and think it's beautiful. Some of the main notes that stand out, this has an ice cream accord. Yes. And it's in a bit of an artistic direction. There's a pistachio note. To me, it just smells more nutty and not specifically like pistachio. There's almond, tonka bean, vanilla. Those are the main players in the fragrance for me. And it just gives me this super soft, ever so delicately gourmand nutty, creamy, sweet, dreaminess. All of that together. I just adore this. Heavier on the vanilla in terms of the base, and it makes me feel like my girliest self. Like it touches my girly heart, and I can't get enough of it. So I want to hype this up. It's in the same family as Printemps Blanc, Marshmallow Musk, and all of those that give you all the like fluffy, girly, vanilla, marshmallowy even feels. Like I don't smell marshmallow specifically in this, but it's that same kind of beautiful scent profile that's sweet, delicate, slightly edible, and just amazingness. So, Golden Pistachio, can't say enough good things about this one. In the category of best comeback, so I used to own the Eau de Toilette, I used to own the Eau de Parfum of this fragrance. Absolutely just joked to death about the ugly bottle that it's in. I'm talking about Versace Crystal Noir. Versace Crystal Noir. I mean, I still despise this bottle. I think it is maybe one of the most hideous things out on the market, particularly this top. It's so hideous and gaudy that I think part of me sort of secretly likes it. You ever have that kind of experience with things like that's so ugly, I can't stop staring at it, so therefore I must like it or something? Anyway, this is the Parfum version that was released in 2024, and it just kind of snuck back into the fragrance atmosphere here. I didn't even know this was out until I was hearing a video from Tammy Roxanne, who's here on YouTube, where she mentioned this. And I thought, oh, I'd love to check that out. Serendipitously, I ended up getting like a little dabber bottle of it in an order that I placed for another fragrance, like as a sample. Let me try this out. And I thought, wow, maybe this is what I was hoping the other two Crystal Noirs would be. Because I love this version, the Parfum version. This is primarily, for me, sandalwood, a nice amber, a nice vanilla. And it has this like delicate woody spiciness that I think is fabulous, particularly as we head into fall here. I think I really enjoy this. I find this one to be longer lasting, maybe more projecting than the other two. I ended up selling off the other two, and I think I prefer this one. It has more depth, more smoothness. It's more round maybe than the other two versions, and I quite like it. So this is a comeback because I thought that I was done with the Crystal Noir line. And here we are with the newest flanker. In the category of rainy day, which I think I'm surprised that this fragrance is here because I would consider it a femme fatale fragrance in the vanilla world, like a femme fatale vanilla. In fact, I have a video called like femme fatale vanillas or something like that and featured this one in there. But I ended up reaching for this on a cold, rainy, cooler day here in August. And this is from Tom Ford. It's Vanille Fatale. Again, this is one that isn't the super longest lasting fragrance. You get a half a day's wear, and for Tom Ford prices, a lot of folks might really grimace at that, right? This is lightly spiced vanilla. I think there's tobacco. There are some resinous notes. The overall effect of this fragrance is a very softly warm, dreamy, under your sweater, like cuddle worthy fragrance that also has a little bit of sex appeal to it without being so va va voom like perhaps your dark rose is. Whereas dark rose is like explicitly, unapologetically femme fatale. She's going to come into the room with her stilettos on, and everyone's gonna turn their head looking at the woman who wears dark rose. This one, Vanille Fatale, is much more subtle. This is maybe like the the preppy version of femme fatale. A little bit more reserved, the introverted, preppy femme fatale that's under the sweater. You have to kind of snuggle in close to smell this fragrance. It's just so delicately spiced, vanillic, warm, resinous. And I believe there is that tobacco note in here, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't want to look up the notes. I wanted to tell you about this. It's even like ambery. And there's some sort of like soft, delicate sweetness in the background of this. It really is quite alluring and mysterious, but in a soft, casual way. Vanille Fatale. In the category of most complimented, there are several in the lineup today that can go in here, including Dark Rose, Rose Extase, and a few others. I have to give it though to one that I think is also worth hunting down. This is from Lancome. It's Eau d'Azur. I do have a complaint about this fragrance, and that is that it is fairly fleeting and not long lasting. But for the time that you can smell it, boy, is it delightful, particularly in high heat settings. This is primarily rose, peony, and citrus. Period. There is a base of musk and woodiness in here that kind of gives it a little bit of heart and soul, but it is, in my mind, that light, wispy floral combination of the peony and a very light, simple rose. It is not a complex rose, it's almost like a baby rose that's freshly bloomed. And this gorgeous deeper citrus, and it's rather like intoxicating in the air to the point where, someone's nose wants to follow where the scent is coming from. So this is another one that got big compliments in my house from everyone, and I've got some picky noses in the house. Everyone thought that this smelled really good, very fresh, very clean, very stylish. There's something about a citrus floral that is just really like a mass appealing thing. So for those of you that aren't into citruses, you may want to try something like this and see. It doesn't last long, and if you don't like it, in a few hours it'll be gone. So you can switch out to another fragrance. But if you want to see what like the citrus appeal is about. This has enough florals to kind of cut the tartness of the citrus, and it's got that woody, musky base that bolsters this scent into something a little bit more sophisticated than just a usual summer citrus. But it is fleeting, and that is the complaint about it. In the newer category of Hollywood glam, I'm not sure if this is the right selection, but I'm going to go with it. Follow my gut. This is from Fragrance du Bois. It is Siberian Rose. I picked this up in the 30% off sale that I did with So Avant Garde, so I could get that discount. And this is not for the faint of heart and not for everyone. A very unusual scent. I'm not even sure if I love it, but I'm intrigued by it. It is florals and leather primarily. Maybe a little bit of woodiness in the background, but that is what you get. It is for me rose and a white floral. So a lot of people pick up tuberose. To me, it's not like a defined tuberose, but I definitely have a white floral accord, that rose, and this almost like buttery leather with a little bit of suede touch on top of it. So why is it Hollywood glam? There's something rather elaborate, complex, multifaceted, deep, interesting, different, and mysterious about this fragrance. So when I think about Hollywood glam, two things come to mind. One could be like lipsticky smells. For example, number 8 from Morph with the purple florals could perhaps go in that direction. I don't think it's lipsticky, but it's got that same kind of Hollywood appeal with the mostly purple florals that a room full of makeup and makeup powders and things like that might have. This one reminds me of 80s scents, 1980s powerhouse fragrances that really filled up a room, cut through the heavy sort of cigarette smoke that might have been in any given room in the 1980s and made its presence known. It's also rather androgynous in that I think anyone could wear this who likes bold scents regardless of gender. It is genderless in my mind. Well, maybe some folks would think the leather aspects lean quite masculine. In fact, I think most women who do not like masculine fragrances would probably dislike this. For those of you that have a bolder taste, more adventurous taste, and you like the idea of a floral leather and you're not wanting to smell like everyone else, this is a rather unique scent. Give Siberian Rose a try. I definitely plan to wear it more this winter. I enjoyed it when wore it. My husband liked it on me as well. I'm not sure if this is a love for me, but I definitely want to give this more of a try and I appreciate what it is. It's a very exotic Hollywood glam type of smell. Like it could easily be the dapper gentleman, tall, dark, and handsome that walks in the exquisitely designed and tailored tuxedo, but it could also be the woman that walks in the Oscar-worthy ball gown. Either one, Siberian Rose. So then let's go to the low, medium, and high category. And I really regret that this one is in the low category. I like the scent profile, but it reminds me very much of 312 Scent Honoré. And I prefer this one because it's longer lasting. That is the issue with the fragrance that I'm going to share with you. And it is by Andrea Mack, a house that I love. And this is called Soft Tension. When I wore this, I couldn't help but be reminded of 312 Saint Honoré. And I thought I smelled quite lovely. It's a little bit more in the purple direction than 312 Saint Honoré. Like it's very distinctly cool, nearly metallic, laundry-esque type of smell. It's a very clean smell, and I have recommended this as being such, and I will continue to do that. However, my challenge with this is throughout the day, I kept asking people, "Hey, how do I smell? What do you think of my fragrance?" And they had to come up really close and sniff, and they were like, "I don't really smell it," which was a little bit disappointing to me because I thought that I could smell it, and I wasn't understanding why other people could not. So that is the disappointment here. Although I think the scent profile is quite nice. Like if you are a nurse, if you are, any medical professional, if you work in an office setting where you're around others and you don't want to offend, you want something really sort of as personal for you scent that others are probably not going to notice. It's soft tension might be one to consider. So then in the medium category, you might be surprised to see Amouage's existence, which I have again talked about as a fragrance that I had trouble with when I first sampled it. I thought it was really bizarre. Like I couldn't figure out what I was smelling. I neither hated it nor loved it. I just thought it was strange. Like I don't know what I'm smelling here or if I want it. And so I told this whole story. I won't go over it again. I talked about it in a recent video. That thumbnail looks like this if you're interested in checking out the story behind this, but it's in the middle category because I still think that this is a rather unique, very unique. I've never smelled anything like it, and bizarre offering on the market. And I am still not sure if I fully love it myself, but I love the effect that it has on others, including the compliments that I got on this. And so some people think it smells really clean and soapy and floral. I describe this as smelling heavy on the frankincense note with some clean aspects running through it. So it's kind of hard to pin down what this smells like. The frankincense does stand out to me. Another person picked up a heavy lily of the valley that smelled indolic on her. So it's like all over the place, and one that I would say definitely sample if you're interested in checking this out because you might be shocked by what you get or you might absolutely love it. People freaking love this fragrance and go bananas over it or not. So one or the other. And so I love that it reads well in the air and gets a lot of compliments, and it's in the middle category because I'm still like, "You're a little strange, existence," but we're gonna hang tough. My top 3 fragrances of the month, other than the ones that I've talked about already, because I love all of those as well. But for the sake of having some in this category, I gotta give it up to a fragrance that I consider to be a signature scent at the moment and for a while, mostly because I have great memory associations with it. And that's still by Jennifer Lopez. It's missing the little like engagement ring that goes around the middle. This is not an extraordinary fragrance. There's nothing unique or different about this. This is a clean fragrance that has an apple note, it has a tea and a rice note, there's sandalwood in the base, there are florals. It smells clean, shampooey, fresh, a little woody, and it's very like a very magnetic fragrance in that other people think you smell really, really good. In fact, similar in effect, although they don't smell the same as Eau d'Azur, whereas this one is enchanting to other people when they smell it and they want to come up close. The same is true for Still. I always get compliments when I wear this and people enjoy it around me. It's become a scent that is associated I associate it with myself. I don't know if you do from being on YouTube and hearing me rave about this so much. It's long lasting, it's appealing, it's an all season scent, although the profile is more like a spring and summer, fresh, floral, woody scent. Delightful. Fresh shampoo with a woody base, rice, tea note, etc. Check it out. Inexpensive, discontinued, but widely available on the gray market. I also wore what's maybe a super bold fragrance for the month of August, but we had some cool days. And so, got to give a shout out to Fev Gourmand, which joined my collection when I turned 50 in January of this year. This was a splurge for myself for making it through a half century. It's been a crazy, crazy year for lots of reasons, but we'll get into that. No, we won't. We will not get into that. Let's just say it's been a crazy year. But this is beautiful. This is also old Hollywood glam smell to me. It's got one of the most delightfully chocolatey scents, and it's not like literal candy chocolate. It's a very perfumey interpretation of a cacao note that reads like a lovely sugared dark chocolate to me. Faint. So if you have tried Via Cavour one from Xerjoff, it's the same kind of chocolate that I think is in there. It's that same tonality, if you will, of a chocolate slash cacao note. The other note that stands out to me in here is this beautiful patchouli base, and it is one of the most sophisticated, delightful patchouli bases in all of my collection right now. There's rose, there are spices, there's a boozy note, but the chocolatey, dark chocolatey, sugary nuance and the patchouli are the primary players for me. And I adore how this smells. I think it is so sophisticated and beautiful and womanly. Last but not least, for the August awards, in my favorites of the month category is good old Atomic Rose from Initio, which has been compared to Delina, Delina Exclusive, or somewhere in between. And yes, it gives you some of that nuance. For me, this is a rather heady, strong, very present rose, a mature rose with peppery nuances and a vanillic ambery base. It is super strong, super projecting, definitely fills a room. I wore this at home. I sprayed pretty heavily on this, worked in my office for a couple of hours, left my office, came back, and it was like a cloud that filled the office, this scent, even though I was still wearing it. It was like I was walking back into a cloud of myself, and I was thinking, dang, I smell really good. Another one that is rather sexy. This could have been in the sexiest category. This can be special occasion. This can be also Hollywood glam, or maybe a more modern version of Hollywood glam because it's mostly rose focused, but a strong nighttime version of a rose scent that has a lot of allure to it and a lot of oomph and a lot of power. So, with that, friends, don't forget to leave us down in the comments your favorite fragrance of the month of August. By the way, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Would love to have you be part of the community here. See you in the next one. Take care.